Envy is when we want something that someone else has. Jealousy is when we're afraid of losing something we already have to someone else. And so weirdly, like if you showed me your vacation pictures and you're like, Brene, look at this last vacation. It was so fun. And I would say, oh my God, I'm so jealous. That looks great. I'm actually not jealous. I'm envious. But I think we don't say that for two reasons. One, we don't say that because it's one of the great sins and no one wants to say they're envious. It has a different connotation. Secondly, there's two types of envy. An envy where I'm glad you had that vacation. I want it too. And then a dangerous kind of envy, which is I want that and I don't want you to have that.
Yes.
So it's so much easier just to say, and we have cute words for jealousy. You're like, oh, Oprah, I'm so jelly. That looks like amazing. But we're actually not jealous. We're actually envious. And in some cases, we have malicious envy. Sometimes we experience depression as a result of not experiencing enough Freude. I thought about something I taught my kids when they were in elementary school. I used to ask them to cup their hands and put them in front of me. And I said, in your hand is your flame. It's your soul. It's your light. You need to surround yourself with friends who, when your light is shining bright, don't feel the need to blow it out. When things get windy and stormy, you want a good friend who sees your light dimming and cups their hands around it to protect it a little bit. There's a quote in the book that I came across when I was in college. It was by Ludwig Wittgenstein, and it says, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. So stress and overwhelm. Here's what I did not know. Let's say you decide to make some chocolate chip cookies. You get out a bowl, you add the milk, you add the flour, the brown sugar, the egg. But what if I told you that the cookies changed the way they tasted based on the bowl you picked? That's what language is. Language does not just communicate emotion. It shapes what we're feeling. So when I use a word to describe how I'm feeling, many times my body will follow my language. So the difference between stress and overwhelm, I use the word overwhelm too much. I'd say, oh God, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed. Stop, Brene. Because what would happen is my heart would start racing. My nervous system would say, oh, geez, I didn't know you were overwhelmed. There's a great quote from Jon Kabat-Zinn around overwhelm that kind of took my breath away. He said that overwhelm means life is unfolding at a rate that neither my psyche nor my nervous system can handle. Ah, dang, that's me. Imagine that you have a pain in your shoulder that's so acute that when you feel it, you literally see stars, like it takes your breath away. You finally get an appointment with the orthopedist. You go in and she looks at you and says, I'm here to help. What's going on? And the moment you try to point to it and describe it, there's duct tape over your mouth. Your hands are tied behind your back.
Correct.
And she said, I don't understand. I don't understand. I know people well enough to know that there are probably two options for us in that situation. We either lose control and start thrashing about and knocking things off the counter and just lose our minds, or we slump over in despair. If all we really have are three words to describe happy, sad, and mad, what happens to grief, anguish, despair, wonder, joy, heartbreak? What happens? And that is why language is a portal to universes of new choices and second chances. The world is unfolding faster than we as a social species can manage. And it's unfolding in a way that drives separation, not that drives connection. And we've confused hyper communicating with connection. I think one of the big problems, and I got this wrong too, actually, as we're unmoored, untethered, adrift, we are desperately trying to find a port, somewhere to pull in and find safe harbor. What we don't understand is that port is inside of us. It is not external. The only way to find the shore right now is within us. But there are a lot of very smart people who recognize the fact that we're lost and have created external ports that offer us very quick counterfeit connection and a sense of belonging. If you do not turn toward a painful story and own it, that story owns you. If we do not turn toward our collective painful story around race, around poverty, if we do not turn toward that story and own it, it will continue to own us. And that pain is owning us right now. And if you look at the way it's owning us, you will see that it's just being leveraged in really painful ways. We should learn how to recognize emotion in ourselves and others. I do not think it is possible to learn how to recognize emotion in other people. I think that's bad business. No matter what behavior you were engaged in, if I saw you raging and throwing the books behind you, if I saw you sobbing, there are 50 emotions that present each of those ways. And so I'm going to have to make a ton of assumptions. So the idea of walking in someone else's shoes and trying to understand what they're feeling, I believe has no merit. I think the call is much more difficult and much more powerful. And that is to ask the person for their story of what it's like in their shoes and to believe them.